So there are deeply conflicting versions of what's happened, but what does seem certain is that 10 Palestinians, most of them children, were killed when some kind of a missile exploded in a park at the al-Shati refugee camp in Gaza City. Dozens more were hurt and taken to the nearby al-Shati hospital, which was itself the scene of an explosion at around the same time. Palestinian authorities say both were the result of Israeli airstrikes, whilst Israel, for its part, blames misfiring Hamas rockets. Our correspondent Paul Mason is at the hospital in Gaza this evening. Paul.
John, with the naval guns booming offshore and casualties arriving here at the Shifa hospital every minute, Israel's ground offensive in Gaza has resumed, and it looks like it's going to be big. 4 Israeli civilians were killed in the town of Eshkol earlier, and Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister, has addressed the nation and called for them to prepare for a long operation. Now, here at the Shifa hospital earlier, we heard that 8 children and 2 adults had been killed in an attack on a Palestinian refugee camp just 5 minutes away from here. There was also an explosion at the edge of the grounds here. What you're about to see in my report of that incident contains some distressing images of children. We'd just left Shifa hospital, then a bang and a frantic drive back. A drone strike had hit just outside, but the casualties going in were from somewhere else. There'd been an explosion at Beach Camp, a Palestinian refugee camp just 5 minutes away. It was quickly clear that many of the victims were children. Their bodies so small they could fit 2 to a trolley. This is the main hospital that has been dealing with all the casualties in Gaza City in the conflict so far. I've seen 4 children's bodies and there are apparently 6. This man's trousers had been blown off by the blast at Beach Camp. He told me what happened.
Where are the fighters? It was a civilian house. All of them were children playing in the street. There were no resistance fighters. They were playing in the streets. And they attacked the house and the rubble crushed them.
On this, the Muslim festival of Eid, there was only the blood of children and the grief of families. As the injured were cared for, a pro-Hamas TV station accused Israel. Israel said these were Palestinian rocket strikes gone wrong. All the casualties I saw were from the Beach Camp attack. Whatever it was that hit the hospital, the physical damage it did was clear. The day had started with prayer and celebration. Amid a 24-hour truce called by Hamas, people flocked to Gaza's historic mosque. Many of the worshippers were people displaced from the destroyed suburb of Shujaiya. This man had lost 3 children, his wife and his home there a week ago. In his grief and despair, he told me this.
What do you say to the people who bombed it?
ايش بتقول للاسرائيليين اللي فجروا بيتك او دمروا؟ انا نفسي حفجر نفسي ما ضلش عندي حد انا بدي افجر نفسي في الاسرائيليين. He's saying that he's ready to explode himself among the Israelis.
You're ready to explode yourself. You're ready to become a martyr yourself.
انا بدي افجر نفسي في الاسرائيليين. انا بدي اصير هلقة مجاهد. انا بدي اجاهد هلقة اقتل ما ضلش عندي حاجه. ما ضلش عندي حاجه لا دار ولا بيت ولا ولد. ما ضل حاجه. خلاص بدي افجر حالي انا بدي اقاتل الاسرائيليين. I have nothing to lose. I'm going to explode myself. I lost everything, so I have nothing to lose.
Just hours before the carnage at the beach camp, we'd seen this in the sky. Israeli leaflets carrying a simple message. These leaflets have just dropped, and what they say are, well, they're a list of names of Hamas and Islamic Jihad fighters that Israel claims it's killed, and at the bottom it says, who do you think is the next person going to be on this list? People had been hoping to return home, but the calm of the day would soon be over. Well, there are more casualties arriving right now, children among them and adults. Going back to the report there of the previous attack on the beach camp, the Israeli Chief of Staff has said tonight that the Israelis have proof that it was a stray rocket attack, it remains disputed. But here we are, rising casualties from what is clearly an Israeli offensive.
Paul, what more can you tell us about Prime Minister Netanyahu's statements just before we came on air?
Well, before even that, the Israelis warned people living in 3 suburbs of Gaza, East Jabalia, Sheikh Jair, which is destroyed, and Zaytun, to get out. That's an indication that they're going to go in there. Mr. Netanyahu also called for Israelis to have patience for a long offensive. He talked also about knocking Hamas out, both militarily and financially, and I think that may be something that is the product of the diplomatic row that's been going on between Israel and America, with America quite possibly signalling something like a financial crackdown on Hamas in return for possibly restraint. We don't know, but you have to read between the lines of statements like that.
Paul Mason live in Gaza. Well, we're